sitting here and I was riding, right? Listening to my music, and I'm all jamming, you know, freestyling, having a good time, right? Then I started to think about my husband, right? Then I don't know why, but I started to think about, like, you know, when we were going through the divorce process. And I know some of y'all put away wives, and some of y'all put away husbands, and some of y'all in marriages, covenant marriages, which is awesome. But when I went through, you know, the whole divorce process, what was some of the craziest things that y'all did to try to save y'all marriage? Like, I was looking back at it, and I thought about that freaking video game. Knew I was in that daggone game. Let me tell you how I know he knew I was in that game, looking for him. Because he used to play this game called, he probably still does, called Neverwinter Nights. And I remember when I bought the game myself so I could go on board and actually play it. If you ever seen that movie, Ready Player One, it kind of reminds you of that game. Matter of fact, it is something like that. So, anywho, I remember years ago when I first started playing that game, he was teaching me how to play it. And I asked him, you don't die in this game, dude. He was like, no, no, no. And then one day I was playing the game, and it was another person that was on the board. They looked like some type of transformer type of thing. And a tiger came out of nowhere and mauled the brakes out of me. And I ended up going, I don't know where it was, but it looked like hell in the game. And I was so mad. I was like, babe, I thought you said I won't die in this game. And the guy whoever I was playing with had to carry my body on the other side to revive me. While I was on my end, it looked like I was in hell. So anywho, so when me and my husband was going through some shaky stuff, and I'm talking about what's the craziest thing you ever did to try to save your marriage? It's not funny. But I went on a game because you can't tell who you are. But I went on the game trying to look for him. Trying to see if I can at least come across him, to at least communicate to him. Because I couldn't do it by cell phone. I couldn't do it in the real. And I know in the game I saw him. I know in the game it was him because he was giving out these shields to people. And the reason why I know it was him is because he game a certain way. Like, he types a certain way. But it just dawned on me while I was driving, he knew it was me too. Because he played the game so much, he became like what you want to call a dungeon master. So he knew who was what. I'm like, and he was probably laughing the whole freaking time. But anyway, I could laugh at it because I'm like, I really did fight for my marriage. And I went into a stupid video game that I was literally afraid of. And I remember playing this video game with him, and it was another person. And I remember he was like, okay, I guess they were on the board. And he told the other person, okay, we're going to meet up, and me and my wife are going to play. Well, I don't know if he told the person that my wife was going to play, but in gaming, he was like, yeah, I'm supposed to be meeting my wife. And the little Elfland thing thought he was just playing until he actually met me. But he didn't know in real life I was really his wife. But anyway, so when I don't know why I was thinking about that. And I was like, he knew I was in that game. And I got tore up by, it's not funny. My friend Kaylee, we was laughing like crazy about this because her husband plays that game too. But I got tore up because I went somewhere looking for him, and it was in a cemetery full of dead bones that came out and jumped my tail and tore me up. And I remember going around asking people, have they seen this guy? And I couldn't really say his name in real life in the game, but I was trying to put like real life scenarios. And I remember one guy, he came up to me in the game looking like a whatever, and he was like, I need to post and put a bulletin. And I posted, I'm looking for my husband. And I knew, and the thing about it is then I felt like I knew I came across him in the game. But I know now, I don't know why it hit me. He knew that I was in that game looking for him. Let me get away from this truck. So what's some of the craziest things? I mean, or you tried to save your relationship. I wouldn't say it was crazy, but it was extreme. I'll never forget getting jumped by some freaking bones in a graveyard. People thought I was nuts. Like, Mona, you really going in a video game? I sure was. Y'all gotta understand. Like, when I first got connected, my husband did all of this type of stuff to get me on that server that I forgot. So when I was going through that stuff, I was doing some hacking type stuff. And I finally got on the server, and I forgot he gave my code away to some guy he knew. So when every time I logged on, the guy couldn't log on. So the guy put it on the forum. Is there anyone who's logging on? I mean, I was given this code, but if you're going to play the game, could you just let me know the days and times that you're going to be on? Because it really belonged to me. And I'm sure he probably emailed my husband and told my husband that the code you gave me, somebody is logging on. My husband knew I was on that daggone game. And if he became Dungeon Master, he probably saw me get ripped up and ripped apart. I know y'all like, Mona, what are you talking about? I was just thinking about when I tried to save my marriage. I literally went into a freaking video game. To try to communicate with my husband. And I walked through that daggone graveyard. If you ever played Neverwinter Nights 2, y'all know what I'm talking about. Them bones came out of nowhere and tore me to smithereens. I was like, I just can't take it. It's too scary. The things you do to try to save your marriage. Gosh, man. Things you do to try to save your marriage. I remember knocking at his door with our daughter in the hands while it was, well, his parents' door, while it was raining outside. I remember lying to a judge, like, Your Honor, he doesn't want a divorce. He doesn't. I just spoke to him yesterday. And his attorney was like, no, he does. He does. He does. Dang, man. I guess that's how God is with us. Not guess, that's exactly how God is with us. He will keep coming at us in every single angle and try to send people our way, the Holy Spirit our way. But if we keep denying him, eventually he's just going to be like, fine. I'm here when you're ready to come. So that's where I'm at right now. No more approaching. I remember knowing that I got abandoned, and I remember sending him some flowers. Y'all remember that? I sent some flowers, a bouquet of flowers, pretty bouquet of flowers. I remember sending him that Mystery Science Theater 3000 shirt, Mr. Be Natural. I prayed over that and anointed that shirt. Not one thank you, nothing. Instead, I saw him post something on his Twitter with the shirt on, holding our daughter. Sometimes I'm not going to say you give up, but you just have to sit back. You just have to sit back. And I never really did ask the Lord why. Probably maybe in between I probably asked God why. But the other day I asked why. Sometimes people have influences in their lives, negative influences in their lives, and demonic attacks that would try to turn people against their spouse, their husbands, and their wives. It's not nothing that the wife did. It's not anything that the husband did. But it's just the enemy has come in and he's whispered in your spouse's ear. And now they've turned against you. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. And and I guess for the longest time, I took offense of it because I wasn't shown love, affection, I was abandoned and all of that. But the truth be told is that he abandoned God. I mean, he walked away from God. Anytime you can walk away from your husband or your wife and come up with a bogus excuse, you know, God doesn't walk away from us. He doesn't do things like this. This video is not to condemn my husband, because I'm sure he's dealing with all of that with God. But this video is just like, you know, I know that a lot of y'all are thinking this is something that I did. It's nothing that you did. It's nothing that I did. And even when I was in the wrong, I was still acting as if, I was not in the wrong, but even when I know that I was being wrong, I was still pursuing my husband like it's me. It's me. It's your wife that loves you, your friend. It's me, baby. That's how God is with us. Like, we walk away from him, we turn our backs. God, he's like, I'm here. But eventually, he's like, fine. You have free will. I've given you free will. In a covenant, God has given us free will. In our covenant, we chose our spouse to death. And in that, we have to carry it out until death. God has given us 2 instructions. Jesus has given us 2 instructions for a successful marriage. And that's for husbands to love your wives as I love the church, as Christ loved the church. Y'all, my coworker, I'm waiting for the time to go down because I'm super early. Hold on, y'all. Waiting for the time to go down because I'm a little early. But yeah, it's nothing that you did. It's the enemy. And the enemy will use certain people to come in between your union. He will to the point where not eventually, he wants you to fall out of love, not having compassion for one another. He wants you to commit adultery, because once you commit adultery, you forfeit all your rights and your inheritance to heaven. You know, people talk about my inheritance. My parents left us an inheritance. God left us an inheritance, y'all. It is heaven. Our inheritance is heaven. Streets of gold. I'm talking about the most heavenly, I can't even describe it. We got an inheritance, and I'm gonna tell you something. You ever known a hater? That's what the devil is. He's a hater. You know why? Because he used to be in heaven. He know what that place is all about. He got cast out, and he don't want you to make it. So don't feel like, because that's what I was like, Lord, why? Why did my husband leave me? The enemy used a couple of people and whispered in his ear. And he acted it out. He turned his back and he acted out, 50%, they say 50% of marriages end in divorce. Somebody or both people did something. And I'm like, okay, Lord, you say that I am to remain unmarried until I reconcile with my husband. That may never happen. I mean, God has shown me in dreams that we will, but I'm like, I don't want to override what God has coming down. You still have faith. I just may have to go through life unmarried. And I think it's just, oh my gosh, it's so cruel. My mother never got married although my father did, and my father got a tail whooping because of it, and he's dealing with repercussions after his second marriage. But my mother never got remarried again. And but I could tell, even though in her pain and all of the things my father has done, I could tell she still loves my father. Like, she still has a love for my father. Y'all, Christmas, it was so awkward. He was like, she shook his hand and he was like, let me get a hug. She was like, nah, I'm good. You're fine. I was like, ooh, let me walk away. And so my father came over. She was like, because everybody putting on their face and stuff for pictures. My mother was like, I ain't putting on my makeup at all. And I guess she thought about it. So she went in there and did her little face up and stuff. And she still has memories of my dad when we were young. Like, your dad used to throw y'all up in the air like y'all were in a little Ferris wheel or something like that. And she would always smile when she talked about my father when we were young. So I could tell that still hurt her. So don't feel like you did anything wrong. But I was riding down the road this morning, and I just was thinking about my marriage and how I so tried to prevent it. Somebody was like, I wouldn't have signed it. I wouldn't have signed it. You signed it. I didn't sign my divorce. And I'm not saying you're in fault because you signed your divorce. Sometimes, when a person wants to push your hand, you're just like, fine. This is your will. This is what you want. But the paper don't mean anything. It don't mean anything. I also thought about it yesterday, too. Like, when I got sent into labor, my husband sent me into labor. But I'm going to tell you something. I thank God he did. Why, Mona? Why? Because Symphony had a cord around her neck twice. And when I went I had been having contractions all that week. Matter of fact, I even had them on film. Then when I went into the hospital, she was in distress, so they had to do an emergency C-section on her. I was going into labor, and my husband went and picked up the phone. I was calling out and screaming. I was scared as heck. They about to do a C-section. I want my husband beside me. He's always been beside me. Well, they about to do a C-section on me. I called my husband. He wouldn't answer his phone. I called my father-in-law. My husband was right next to my father-in-law. Here go my father-in-law. He doesn't want to speak to you. Can I please speak to my husband? But he says he doesn't want. You could have put the daggone phone on speaker. You could have just said, son, I don't know what the heck going on with you, but it's your wife. You need to be at the hospital. If he wasn't right, put him on speaker. But anyway, I cried like crazy because I was having a baby and losing my husband at the same time. And the people in the emergency room was like, don't cry. Don't cry. Because they saw that I've had 2 losses, but they were like, you're going to have a baby. I was crying like crazy. I was like crying. My mother, I told her not to come, and then I was like, Mommy, they're going to do an emergency C-section on me. My mother was trying to rumble around. And y'all, guess who was in the room for my C-section? But little did she know, I wanted my mother and my mother-in-law to be there when I had our baby. And my mother-in-law, of all people in the world, was in the room to see her grandchild being born. In the room to see her first grandbaby being born. That day was the most. It was bitter at the beginning, but it was so sweet at the end. I texted him when I had her, and I said, baby, we got a beautiful baby girl. I was so high. What I mean by that, I was so drugged up off that C-section. The next day, he showed up. And he held his beautiful baby girl. I could tell he was going through some things at that time. So I can't even really, it's crazy, especially in my situation, because I don't even know who to blame. Anyway, it's not your fault. Remain unmarried till you reconcile. I'm like, Lord, that may be a long time. But God reminds me sometimes about him. He may be going through whatever right now, but do you really think that he is a man without compassion or heart? I'm like, I don't know. No, I do know. I don't know. But anyway, I was riding down the street, y'all. I was like, I can't believe I went into a video game. Y'all, I don't like playing scary video games. But I went into that video game looking for my husband. A video game. And I walked through that graveyard, and I was like, I'm just going to go, and I'm just going to look for him, and I'm just going to look for him. And I remember, and this is how I know it was him it was this guy who was supposed to be a merchant. He was selling merchants. He was selling shields and stuff to people. And he was like, would you like a shield so you could be protected? And I was like, no, nothing in life is. He said, it's for free. I said, nothing is for free. He said, well, this is for free. And he kept asking questions. But I was like, I'm looking for my husband. I remember one time when I tried to learn how to play that game, I was in the graveyard, and I'm trying to fight these bones, and I'm talking about these are skeletons with swords, and they just fighting me, jumping me, and then this guy comes out of nowhere. And he just starts slaying these giants. And we're both fighting. He starts slaying these giants. And then after they were all killed, I was like, thank you so much. Excuse my mouth. He was like, pay me, you wench. I was like, excuse me? In the game. I was like, excuse me? He was like, I don't care about your thank yous. Pay me. So I was like, daggone it. So I had to pay the guy for saving me. I was so mad after that. Then when I got from the game, my husband gonna come around the corner laughing. I was like, that was you. He was laughing like crazy. But I remember playing that game, and it was that little dwarf looking thing, and we were in the cave, and they were fighting off all of these creatures, and I was afraid. I was just running back and forth. I was so afraid while him and the other person, they was just slaying these dragons and all types of stuff. I was all hiding behind my husband in the game. We had avatars. Certain games like that are dangerous. That's why I couldn't play the game no more. I was like, I can't do this. I was like, I'm sorry, bro. And I would try to go on adventures and stuff. And he would show me how to level up and stuff. So when I thought, I'm going to go in this game, because I couldn't communicate with him in real life. He changed the cell phone number. And when I asked my in-laws, I said, can you give me his new cell phone number? We're not going to do that. We're not going to give you your husband's number. Who does that? If y'all was to ever be looking for your husband or your wife and I had the number, look, all I need to do is just talk to them and, look, you ain't get this number from me, but him. But yes, y'all, I got mauled in that daggone. And when I was riding today and I was thinking about that and I started laughing, and then it dawned on me, my husband knew I got mauled in that daggone graveyard. You want to know why? He was so good at the freaking game, he became one of the daggone DMs. Meaning he was running the game. You saw me get mauled by those bones? I hope you're looking at this video, because all I can imagine you doing is going, you saw me get mauled by those bones? The craziest things that you would do looking for your spouse. Some of y'all will walk to the ends of the earth. Some of y'all call a friend and know a friend and know a friend. Some of y'all, well, I wouldn't say it's crazy, but you'll just continue on praying. People think it's crazy by continue on wearing your wedding ring and remaining unmarried until you reconcile with your wife or your husband. That's just reality. Not reality. That's just what you're supposed to do. That's what God calls us to do. Man, I did a lot, especially after getting jumped by some bones in the graveyard. Some bones in the freaking graveyard. And I remember telling him, and I'm going to tell you something. God is so good, because my good friend Kaylee, I said, it's on some server. She said, you talking about the Boger guard or something gate? I was like, that's it. That's the server. Once I got on there, I'm like, okay, I know he in here. I know, if I know my husband, I know he playing this video game. So I start going around looking for him. And all I needed to know is the way that he plays. He talks a certain way, like broken type of talk or whatever. He goes into character, should I say. And he knew I didn't know how to play that good. So I definitely believe he was that merchant, because then he was, doing good deeds for everybody. So in the game, he's giving everybody shields and stuff and protection. And I remember when he was like, go ahead and take it. And I think I hit something and I accidentally took the entire table. And he said something that it dawned on me later on that was him. He was showing me how to give the table back. But yeah, he knew I was in that game. You knew I was in that game looking for you. When I go look for my husband, I know where my husband stay at. No, I'm not looking for him. I know where he at, but he know where I'm at too. Just like how God is. It's like, God go after us so many times, y'all. He gives us so many chances. He sends so many people to us. But if we deny him, eventually he's just like, okay, you want it your way, then do it your way. But I'm always here when you decide to come back home. So yeah. Anyway, y'all, I'm about to go to work. I'm going to have a blessed day today. Y'all, I'm super excited to be going to work. Yesterday, I got me a snowman and some more lights trying to outdo the neighbors. I was like, yeah. So the kids could be like, ah! I was like really in the Christmas mood. But anyway, y'all have a blessed day. It's for the wives that got put away. And the husbands that got put away and they didn't do anything wrong. It's not you. It's not you. The enemy has came in. Continue on praying, because remember what we read in the Bible the other day. Because if the enemy can tear you apart and turn you against each other and get you with other people, you're now in adultery land. And when you do that, you're not going to inherit heaven. You're not. So it's all a setup. It's all a setup. So that was, I was driving, so I couldn't edit the title. So that was one of the craziest things that I did to try to save my marriage. I think I got two crazy things. One was going and hacking and going in a video game. I went in a video game looking for my husband and got killed by some bones, man. Some freaking bones. Katie was like, did you? I said, the bones killed me. She was like, oh my goodness. The other one is when I lied to a judge because my husband didn't show up for court. I said, Your Honor, my husband don't want a divorce. I just spoke to him last night. He said he don't want a divorce. Here goes his attorney. Your Honor, my client still wants a divorce. I'm sorry to tell you, Your Honor, we was just on the phone last night. You can't say I didn't fight. You cannot say I didn't fight for my marriage, my covenant. Anyway, y'all have a blessed day.